This podcast brought to you by Darby Field Advisors, elevating local impact and enhancing global engagement. Principals Matthew Bartlett and Scott Merrick create local leverage to achieve client success while devising unique strategies that help clients gain a competitive advantage in the marketplace and around the world. Find them online at darbyfieldadvisors.com. So please welcome to the New Hampshire Journal podcast, the new chairman of the New Hampshire Republican Party, Scott Maltzie. Mr. Chairman, welcome.
Well, thank you for having me on today, Michael. Appreciate it.
Well, I'm thrilled to have you. Now, one of the things I'm really interested in is your long political pedigree. I was not aware how far back it went to, as you call him, Papa Sununu. I call him Governor Sununu because when I was doing talk radio, and my nickname was the Maestro because a liberal group called me the Maestro of conservative controversies. Governor John H. Sununu gave me a New Hampshire license plate with Maestro as a gift. Okay. So he's a hero of mine just for that, you know. So I didn't realize your background. I didn't realize the depth you have of experience, but I want to start because the trick of podcasting is hook the listeners so they don't fast forward. Let's start with how you became chairman. We reported on it in NHJournal, but would you mind just kind of sharing your story of kind of how you got here and the process and kind of maybe some of the bumps and bruises that the party felt along the way?
Sure. Well, I mean, as you say, I mean, it's been a kind of challenging couple weeks, but it's part of a process that we use to select a chair in this particular case due to the resignation of Jim McEachern, and Paul Callahan was nominated. He is, I had numerous opportunities to speak with him. He is a competent and capable gentleman, and I was really looking forward to working with him. He had some great ideas. I would love to say every idea I come up with is mine, but honestly, we had talked and he had thought of some things that I hadn't. So I was really looking forward to working with him. And then the RNC, there was a big RNC meeting. Paul was actually out there, and the RNC, there had been a complaint filed. That complaint was adjudicated, and they said, no, you're the chairman. So here we are. I was surprised as anybody that occurred. I will be honest, I didn't lobby for that. I didn't contact them about this or anything. True story. I was actually running the Merrimack County GOP meeting, and I saw some people getting some text messages, and I saw a call from Bill O'Brien. I kind of had to obviously, dismiss it. Right. And then somebody came up to me afterwards and Bill was on the phone, and he said, you need to take this call. And that was really how it all went down. It was kind of surreal. So everybody knew you were chairman before you did, is what you're saying. Yeah, that was absolutely true. It was kind of surreal. And I went out to dinner with a couple friends afterwards, and we kind of processed through it. And I got a good night's sleep, believe it or not, and woke up the next morning. I'm like, oh, okay, here we go. Excellent. And it's been a wild week, but it's been fun. I got to tell you, I've just gotten so much support from so many people. I've literally gotten almost 200 phone calls, emails, text messages. Just people praying for me, wishing me well. Super happy that I've taken on this role, and I'm not supposed to puff myself up. I let them do it, but I'm very thankful for that. So a couple things. One is when it comes to other people's ideas, my motto is no idea is too good to steal. So steal away. Do not 100%. Credit. The credit will give itself. There's no reason for you to get in the way and start giving it. Second thing, you mentioned that there was a challenge filed. Former Chairman Chris Agar filed that challenge. There's been some suggestion that you might be leaving the party, and that there's some would say a process, others would say a scheme, whatever. But that you're just filling the chair, and that there's going to be a vote, and someone else is going to be chair. Perhaps Agar is going to come back. So, what is your message to people who are hearing these rumors or have these ideas? Okay, so you're right. There's just so many rumors flying around, and frankly, they're all nonsense. I mean, I have yet to hear a truly factual rumor. The sad part about some people is if they don't have facts, they just make stuff up. Mm-hmm. And this is all I am. Hey, I didn't invite you on the show to bash other people in the media. Yeah. All right. Well, exactly. No, yeah. I'm kidding. Yeah, I'm kidding, Landrigan. Just kidding. Anyway, go ahead. But, the thing about it is I am the chair under the bylaws and as the RNC ruled that When the chair is vacated, the vice chair takes
Right.
over, and I am chair, according to our bylaws, through January 2027. I made mention yesterday that barring some unforeseen circumstances, I certainly would like to run again in January 2027. I think the party needs stability right now. We
Right.
had 3 chairs in 3 weeks. That's, we have a big election coming up here in just 10 months. We need to right the ship.
Right.
So I have no intention of resigning. I am here till January 2027, and hopefully with any good luck beyond that. So.
Okay, one more functional work question, because people are asking, and then we can get to the fun stuff. Functionally, if at the when you guys finally have your state committee meeting that got postponed due to weather and also propitious timing, let's admit, because of all the confusion, so you're going to have a meeting, and a lot of people are going to be there. Can someone stand up and say, whatever, I don't like how he became chair, I want a new chair, and you're out of there? Is that do the rules allow that process, or is this once again just another rumor and people need to move on and say, let's focus on 2026?
Yeah, I think that's another rumor, quite honestly. Obviously, I don't want to make legal comments about things, but the bylaws are really pretty clear that when the chair steps down or something happens to them, the vice chair takes over. And unlike the other officer positions, that because again, the party wanted stability. So unlike the other positions that have to, if you appoint somebody, they have to stand for election at that next thing and people can run against them. That's not true of the chair. The chair is there until 2027.
Okay, so
I don't believe that's a possibility.
Not and I that seems to be the consensus of people I've talked to. But anyway, we will find out when the committee meets. But it doesn't appear that there's a vehicle by which they could just show up and say we're going to have.
I tend to agree with that.
That doesn't seem to be the case. We'll see. Now it's time for me to pull the dirt out of your closet, Mr. Scott Maltzie. I'm putting it to you. Rumors say you voted for Gary Hart. Please tell me that can't be true of the Republican chairman here in New Hampshire.
Well, so I was sharing yesterday that my parents were Kennedy Democrats or conservative Democrats, but they were in fact Democrats back in the 60s. And you think, again, how parties have evolved over times. I mean, the Democrats have gone so far to the left that, as Ronald Reagan would put it, I didn't leave the Democrats left me. And I'm convinced that there are so many moderate, maybe even conservative Democrats out there that are looking at the stuff that's coming out of the DNC these days and going, who are these people, right? And the sad commentary is they're actually doubling down on the failed agenda of the Biden administration. And it didn't work in 24. It's not going to work in 26. People rejected it once, and I think they're going to see right through it. But yes, I was living in Colorado at the time. I grew up in the 70s and became a teenager in the 70s, and I had plantar fasciitis on both feet. And so I spent my 13th summer basically sitting on the couch watching the Watergate hearings on all of the 3 channels we could get at the time.
Right, exactly.
And I was just, I always try to operate with integrity. I mean, that's something I think people have come to know me for. So I really want to, that's who I am. And I was looking at what the Republicans were doing at the time under Richard Nixon and the cover up. And I'm like, this is just not right. This shouldn't be done. And, again, I want free and fair elections. We're gonna fight the Democrats hard, but at the same time, we want to make sure that everything's on the up and up. So that's just who I am. But when I turned 18, I decided that I was an actually registered independent, but I'm like, I'm going to support the Democrats, and because I didn't really like the Republicans at the time, and I did in fact vote for Senator Gary Hart for Senate, and watched with amusement for the rest of his career. But he
should have just stayed off the boat. Just stay off the boat.
Absolutely,
that's all he had to do. Stay off.
I dare you to follow me and see if I'm doing anything wrong. Okay.
Sure, I'll take that deal all day long.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was your dalliance with the Democrats. Tell me about your first gig working for a Republican.
So I started working in the governor's energy office back in January of 1987. Governor John Sununu had just gotten, I think it was his 4th term. and I was a letter appointed. It was more of a not so much a political job as it was more of a, you're good at this particular job, running
Right.
grants and doing energy conservation programs and and we want to hire you. So while I was technically a political appointee, I was not. That was not kind of the impetus.
Right.
But I'd always loved politics. I was a political science minor in college, business major, and I just always enjoyed it. And it was just great to work around the governor. I mean, he was just so smart and so articulate and so brazen in some cases. And he had just such an amazing memory. I only had, because again, I'm kind of a lower level employee. I only got to meet him a couple times, but he was just my boss at the time. Said, you're working for a governor. I mean, he was only 25 years old, but he's like, you're working for a governor. What an honor that is. And and he was right. It was such an honor working for the governor. I had a chance to work during Governor Sununu's last term. I then, when Governor Gregg took over, I worked for him for a couple terms, worked for Governor Merrill for a couple terms. And I certainly was part of the transition over to Governor Shaheen. Certainly, I decided it was time for all good conservative Republicans to abandon ship. And I actually met the governor at the time, and they do kind of that little social, in December, and she was part of that. Got to actually meet Stephanie Shaheen when, I don't know, she's probably 6 or 7. And so it was a, again, it was a great time working. We were trying to do some good work, trying to get some energy conservation, help people save money. Affordability, even back then was a key tenet of what we were trying to do. So.
Well, Mr. Chairman, if you like photos of Stephanie Shaheen as a child, just follow her campaign account, because she floods her campaign emails and fundraising emails with photos of her and her mom together. Not that, that has anything to do with why she's running for office. No, of course not.
I have to find it. There's actually, whenever they do those kind of grip and grin Christmas party things for state employees, they used to take a Polaroid. Sure. So somewhere around here, I have a Polaroid of a much younger me with a lot more hair, with Governor Sununu. And it's certainly, I so enjoyed that time.
So you saw the Republicans lose their domination of the governor's office, and you saw the Democrats dominate it, straight through for 14 years, I think, if I'm doing top of my head. Now you've seen Republicans dominate the governor's office to the point that here we are at the end of January, and the Democrats still don't even have a candidate to challenge first-term Governor Kelly Ayotte. And to me, that's a lesson. And it's really the lesson of Watergate, if you think about it. I mean, Watergate, the Republicans were in terrible shape. 1978 was a terrible election. Jimmy Carter had just been elected president in 76. And yet in 1980, you didn't just have a switch, you had a conservative revolution. In other words, things change.
Yeah.
So question, what did you take away from that transition where the Republicans lost control of the governorship had it, lost it, and then the Democrats' domination? And the lesson that you can apply now as chairman of the GOP as you guys try to reverse the curse at the federal level, where you are 0 for a gazillion going back to 2010.
Yeah, it's. I was joking yesterday. I'm a Miami Dolphin fan, so I'm well versed in long droughts of success.
I got to tell you, for Republicans in federal races, it's more like the Jets, and it hurts me to say that, but it's more like the Jets. I mean, just so for people who don't know, since the Tea Party revolution of 2010, Republicans have lost every federal race except 2014, when Frank Ginta, who had been the congressman, won his own seat back. So you can even argue that that's kind of a fluke. You know what I mean? That was a semi-incumbent. So, take away that one race, and it's a straight shot for Democrats. So how did the Democrats do it? What did you learn from watching this in the past, and how do you turn that around?
Well, I think, again, it comes down to selecting good, viable candidates. And I always say, to win an election, a candidate needs to be viable. They need to be scalable. And most importantly, they need to be investable. In other words, and those aren't necessarily a continuum this way. It's kind of more like a Venn diagram, right? And it kind of keeps going in a circle. Because if you're not investable, you're not going to be scalable. You're not going to be viable. And so you have some initial viability, perhaps. You've got some street credibility and things like that. But then if you can't prove you can scale up your campaign, if you can't prove you can raise money, it becomes really, really challenging. And, we've had some great people as candidates over the years, and some better than others, perhaps, but it's really important. And I'm kind of excited. We have a really good slate of candidates right now that are out there, and it's not obviously an easy job running for Congress. You're kind of bearing your soul on a day-to-day basis, and I admire all of them for stepping into the breach. But at the end of the day, you have to be able to put together a winning campaign, have a winning message that resonates with the voters, and you have to be, as one of the chairs was telling me, you have to be what I would refer to as an effective candidate, which is to say you have to be in touch with the people, and you have to be likable. You have to have all that kind of charisma and stuff that are going to make people excited about your campaign. And again, I think we have a good set of candidates, but that's going to be their task this time. And we're going to do all we can to support whoever our nominees are. But at the end of the day, the burden is going to fall on them to put together that top flight campaign. And, are the Democrats better at that than us, or have they been at the federal level? Do they get more money? Certainly. Do they get more support? Perhaps. But, my job is to certainly support them and make sure that we put them in the best position to win. And that's what we're going to do. And I have every confidence that we can turn around at least 2 of those 3 seats. And I certainly think we have a shot at all 3 of them.
So when you say support the candidates, one of the criticisms that I've heard about the New Hampshire Republican Party since I took over New Hampshire Journal like 6 years ago now, is that there just really isn't a Republican Party the way that the Democrats have a party. They have staff, they have, full-time, they're more active, their rules allow them more direct engagement. In other words, the opinion of Chairman Ray Buckley, for good or ill, matters, and the opinion of the chairman of the New Hampshire GOP, but just because of not because, once again, whether it's a genius like John H. Sununu, who used to be chairman, or whether it's a less than genius, it just doesn't matter because they don't have the structure, the rules, or the resources to make a difference. What do you say when you must have heard this criticism? What's your answer to that?
I've even said that criticism outside the party, right? So, I mean, I want to make us the best damn party in the country. I mean, that is my goal. Okay. And that means that we're going to run a professional organization. We're going to raise a ton of money. And certainly that's going to be a big task. The Democrats tend to outraise us 4-1, 5-1, 10-1. I mean, you hear all sorts of numbers out there. But my goal is to create a party that people can believe in, that they have confidence in, that they can see that they feel like they can walk alongside of us. And that's going to allow us to hire the staff that we need. Even my wife, she used to work in an office next to the Democrat headquarters. And she's like, they have 20 cars in their parking lot. And,
exactly.
And I looked past yours and there was 2. And I'm like, well, yeah.
2?
But,
who stole one? Wait a minute. Would someone borrow a car? What's going on?
Exactly. But I think, again, my goal, and we have a very, very short time to do this, and that's going to be the biggest challenge, is that I want to build a professional organization. I mentioned yesterday when I was talking to Senator Wright, is I'm not a Patriots fan by any stretch of the imagination, but I admire what Bill Belichick put together. Sad of what happened to him yesterday, but I admire the organization Robert Kraft put together. And what they were doing is they weren't looking at the short term. They were looking at the long term and building a system, building a organization that was sustainable for a very, very long period of time. And that's my goal, and that's why, again, I want to be here for a while if I can be, because if we can build that kind of organization, it's going to make such a difference. Again, I always say to folks, I don't necessarily like asking people for money, but I'm looking for people that are willing to make an investment in the vision that I have for the party right now. And that's going to allow us to hire the staff and do the work that we need to do so that our candidates are in the best position to win.
So there are a lot of different skills that you can apply when you're doing political work. I used to run campaigns for a living, and I have to say you have an item on your resume that I think may be the most valuable, which is you are a school teacher. And so if you can deal with snot-nosed classroom brats, maybe you can deal with political candidates. After 6 years I couldn't take it anymore. The only thing that would be better would have been if you'd actually been like a wildlife animal control officer, and you had a net and a hoop and a tranquilizer gun, because that's what I wanted to use on my candidates when I finally got out of the business. So but for you, what are the skills, experiences that you've had in the past that you think are going to help you be a leader, that you can say to people when you're pitching for money, look, if you give us money, it's not going to get wasted, because here are the skills I'm going to bring to use them.
Yeah, and it really, to me, it comes down to leadership. And I obviously, in addition to my high school career, where I was not just dealing with, as you described them, those kind of children, I was dealing with teenagers, which are a whole different, breed altogether. And I love them. I mean, the kids were just so great. And you're right. There's a lot of similarities, believe it or not, between that and politics.
Well, I mean, you say teenager, and what do I think? Let's see. Someone who drinks or parties too much, kind of looks kind of slovenly, likes to get on the internet and cause trouble. You're not sure actually where they live or where they sleep. That's about half of the members of the New Hampshire House of Representatives right now. So,
I'm not going to comment on that. But
by the way, smart move. When I talk, you don't want to comment. You just want to ignore, act like I don't know what Graham said. I wasn't listening.
Whatever, Michael. But I was also a college professor. I teach economics as an adjunct. I taught leadership at the undergraduate, graduate level, and now in the doctoral level. I'm on a committee chair for some doctoral students at Liberty University. But leadership to me is the key to all of this. Is that people will follow the plan once they have faith in the leader. So, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to come on today with you, is that people need to believe in me and my vision for the party. And then again, it gets back. It's the same thing. It's viability, scalability, and investability. It's the same things that work for candidates work for us as a party as well. And again, when you look at leadership, and I'm a huge fan of John Maxwell and his 30 irrefutable laws of leadership. And it's like understanding the law of navigation. Like you need a leader to steer the ship, and people need to believe in the direction the ship's going. You need people to talk with and listen and have that kind of ability to hold people's sway in terms of what you're trying to say to them. There's just so many details. I'm not going to be able to, I don't have them all memorized, but those are sort of things that throughout my career I've done. I mean, I joke with people. I never got to serve my country in the military. So this is my way of trying to be of service to my country and my state. Mm-hmm. And I taught yearbook for 10 years. And so I developed a really thick skin, because you can imagine people complaining about that. But when I look at leadership, I look at it really from a couple different perspectives. And one is I aspire and have throughout my political career, working as party chair, county chair, working, helping campaigns here and there, this idea of being a servant leader. And I think that's one of the things that's maybe been missing from the party over the years is this idea of looking at it not for what I can get out of this, but how can I be of service to our candidates? How can I be a service to our delegates, to our committee members? How can we do better in that? Communication, obviously providing guidance. I met with a gentleman yesterday. We have a special election coming up here in a little over a month up in Carroll County, and we're going to win that election. I mean, I just have no doubt in my mind. And so my job, again, something I'm super good at, is trying to build relationships between people. So we're talking about how AFP and Turning Point and all these groups that we work with, how can we get them all kind of rowing in the same direction so that candidate, who's fabulous, by the way, is going to win that election. But I'm also a participatory leader, which is to say, I believe in the counsel of many, there's wisdom. Right. And that iron sharpens steel, sharpens steel, that kind of thing. Right. There are so many smart, talented people that are within our party sphere of influence. And I want to utilize those people. I want to work with those people. I want them to come alongside us and use their talents and abilities to help us, reach our goals. But and sometimes you got to be an autocratic leader too. I mean, I am the chairman of the party.
Right.
And sometimes you got to put your foot down and say, this is the way it's going to be. Right. And certainly I have no trouble doing that. But, again, people don't like it when you're that assertive and when you make those kinds of decisions. But sometimes you got to do it. You can't, I think it was Bill Cosby actually said, I don't know the key to success, but I know that the key to failure is trying to please everybody.
Right.
And anytime you make a decision, there's going to be a group of people out there that just simply are going to be malcontents and they're not going to like it. And, I want to hear their grievances. I want to hear what they have to say because I don't profess to have all the answers all the time. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of smart people out there. But I have a vision. I have a plan that they're going to work to execute over the next 6 to 9 months, so that come November we're going to be in good shape. And then the best part about that is if we can pull that off and get that infrastructure in place, we're going to be well positioned. So whoever our Republican candidate is in 2028, we're going to be in a good position to give them those 4 electoral votes that we have.
Well, we have a president right now. And so one of the key questions people always ask about Republican politics is, where are you on Trump? So where are you on Trump? And the second question is, where do you think the New Hampshire Republican Party should be on Trump? I mean, it's no secret that he's less popular in New England and in New Hampshire than he is in South Carolina and Idaho. So what do you say when people ask you about Trump?
Well, again, I was running for the Register of Probate a number of years ago. I think it was 2016. And somebody asked me that very question. They're like, where are you on Trump? And boy, that's like the most loaded question you can ever get because you don't know where they stand. And I don't, put my finger up and go, which way is the wind blowing and change. I mean, I try to be too principled for that. But when I look at the president, I think, and what I said to this voter was, I think the president has done, actually it must have been 2020. I think the president has done some amazing things. He's turned things around. He's exposed corruption. You look at what's going on in Minnesota right now. It's just horrific. And so many people, I think, were unaware of that corruption before him. So he's done some great things. I don't agree with everything he says. I think I'm not sure anybody other than him does, but I generally support him. I think that Glenn Youngkin is probably the model there as to how to handle the president. And, we stand with him. I think his policies are generally good. And we've lowered inflation significantly. We're taking care of the border crisis that President Biden gave us and handed us. And we're taking good steps to right the ship, as a nation. And, again, I go back to Ronald Reagan, who's my first. So after I got through the Gary Hart era, I clinged on to Ronald Reagan. I had a little concern about an actor running for president, but once I got past that, I so admire that man. And he was such a statesman. And I refer to him as he was the original MAGA, right? And he had just such an ability to be the great communicator and bring people together. And that's what I really want to do in the state is, we have a very, very diverse party.
Right.
Casey Crosby described us as like Baskin Robbins with 31 different flavors. and as chairman, and people, I think, forget this, is that I'm not chairman for the far right. I'm not chairman for the moderates. I'm not chairman for the libertarian in the magazine. I'm chairman for everybody. And my job is to try and, regardless of how you feel about the president, to get people to work together, to overlook those differences that oftentimes are very minor.
Right.
But we tend to make the minors major, and it hurts our cause, quite honestly. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing that on the other side of the aisle. They have no leader, they have no vision, they have no message, and they're doubling down on their failed policies. I think we're in a really good place. And like I say, my goal is to get people to try to work together, and in those areas where they disagree, they disagree.
Okay, listen,
No,
I've taken too much of your
seriously,
time, so I want to wrap up with just a couple of quick things. One is New Hampshire has a tradition of bipartisan support among the chairmen when it comes to the first in the nation primary. Do you plan on working with Chairman Buckley to help defend the primary? And how are things looking, in your opinion, for 2028?
well, I think on the Republican side, let me answer your last question
Sure.
first. On the Republican side, I think we're doing a great job. Bill O'Brien's on the Rules Committee, and I think we're in good shape. I certainly intend to reach out to the other carve-out states and their chairman and introduce myself and try and find ways that we can work together to keep the
Right.
first in the nation. It's certainly one of my top priorities as chairman, one of my top jobs as chairman, quite frankly. I saw earlier this week, or maybe it was last week, that Chairman Buckley has filed some paperwork with the DNC and made their arguments. I applaud that. I was very disappointed with how President Biden handled the first in the nation before. So I haven't talked to Chairman Buckley, but and we probably will agree on nothing else. But on this, I think we're both kindred spirits, and
Right.
I applaud him for trying to do that with the DNC, and we're certainly hoping he'll be successful in that endeavor.
And then finally, we got some rank punditry coming up in the next segment of this podcast. So let me get you on board. Who are the Democrats going to nominate to be the candidate to challenge Kelly Ayotte in November? Rank
Dear.
punditry, your opinion. What do you think?
Do we have a multiple choice on this one?
Well, you can if you want to rank them. The likelihood.
No, I think I don't know. I mean, they're going to go through their process and figure it out. I hear that the mayor of Portsmouth, McEachern, may be running. We've been hearing about Cindy Wormington for quite some time. So I mean, those are the two names I've seen floated, and I certainly think the governor is well positioned, and the work that she's done these last 2 years, that she's done an excellent job. We are the best place to live, work, and raise a family, and that's the doing of the Republican legislature and our Republican governors, and our job is to make people remember that. So regardless of who it is, we're going to take the fight to them. Obviously they're both legitimate candidates. They're going to raise money. The Democrats are going to spend a ton of money in this state, I think, on that Senate race. I predict it'll be the second most expensive Senate race in the country by the time all is said and done.
I predict it won't be, because there are so many other races in bigger states that are more, in play. But man, it's going to be a big race, no doubt about it. You're going to have a lot of work to do, and I'm keeping you away from it. So, Chairman Maltzie, thanks so much for your time, and thank you for joining us here on the New Hampshire Journal podcast.
My pleasure, Michael. Hope to be back again sometime.